Hello and welcome to Game and Learn with Osborne. Hope you all are doing well. We are checking out here today this little game called Valheim. It is a recently released early access, though it doesn't seem early access, like it's pretty well developed. But it is a Viking survival game. I like it because it's not too weird or too difficult for a survival game. It's not too bad for me, and I like that whole thing a whole lot. So let's check it out here, and let's load into the game. All right. So while we're doing this today, here's my character Osborne, which is basically my name and sort of a faux Norse kind of situation there. You can see I got my gray hair going. Technically, Osborne, my last name, is some sort of Viking name. When Vikings came to England, they had lots of conquests and things there, and so some of their words came through. So technically, what this means is Bjorn is bear, and then Ash is sort of like gods, basically, or god. So god bear is kind of what this translates to. And supposedly this relates back to the idea of sort of like prehistoric, gigantic bears and things like that. So who knows? I don't know. Let's go ahead and start with this character, though. Got a little world that I just started called Jomsborg. That is the name of an ancient Viking settlement that no longer exists to my knowledge. I think it might sort of slightly be mythical as well. But I went ahead and just popped in real quick to double check to make sure this was a good one for us. And now we're going to go ahead and do the same thing. All right, so let's pop in. Let's talk a little bit about some Viking mythology. Today is our Game and Learn. So we're going to talk a little bit about Viking myths. As always, I do teach history, and I also have a master's in history, but I'm more of a generalist than a specialist. So I may say some things along the way here that may be a little off. Feel free to correct in the comments if you like. Obviously, be nice in the comments. And at the same time, hit that subscribe and like button so I can make a few more of these. If people like them a whole lot, we're going to go ahead and do it. All right, so let's check out our world here. So this game of Valheim is really cool looking. I kind of love it because of the different levels of textures, right? Like it kind of looks a little PS2. Like you can see some of the textures and stuff, but at the same time, it's really kind of beautiful. Like I love the little pixels floating through and all that kind of stuff. You can see in the distance there some like there's a deer right in front of us, kind of going through the woods there, and lots of really cool places around here. So when you play the game, you'll start off always at this little circle. Well, I say start off always. You start off here whenever you start a new world. Eventually, you can end up making a whole bunch of like beds that you can basically tie yourself down to. But when you start off here, you get your little circle here, and then these are the various monsters that you're going to be trying to fight during the course of the game. So here's our first one over here, which is I think it's called Elkthyr, which is a deer. I have not fought it yet, though I do know people who have. We have the Elder, and then a couple of others around the outside. So when you defeat them, you hang their little trophy there to do that. So anyway, lots of fun kind of stuff there. So what we're going to start off with today is we are going to go ahead and try to make a little house over here. Building is pretty cool in this game, but it can be a little tricky at times. So I noticed this nice little spot over here. Oh, let's go beat up an enemy here. This is like a grayling. He's just like a little dude. He looks like a little creepy goblin with a backpack for some reason. Not real sure why. And he's got some creepy eyes, but we'll go ahead and swat that dude down. All right, so pick up some resin from that. And I actually have a little club is what I'm basically using here to create things. So the first thing we want to do is we need to create a workbench. But I'll tell you what, let's take a look at some of the crafting and stuff, or some of the way to get resources here. So one of the ways we can get resources is through knocking down trees. So we can start off with sort of some of these little tiny ones here, like this guy. So I got my axe. When you start off, you don't have any of these. You really actually sort of very Minecraft style have to punch things. But you can just kind of do a little bit of that to get some more wood. Also, you can cut down trees. So here I am. I'm going to be chopping this beech down. Pretty sure I can chop this one down. There are some trees that are a little bit tougher, so you have a hard time chopping them down. Ah, there we go. Now, one of the things that's scary about this game is that there are some real physics related to the wood that you're chopping down. So this log, for example, got caught up here, but I have repeatedly been crushed by logs that I have knocked down. Oh, see, there it goes. It's going to kind of roll a little bit. And then as you chop it up, you can make some cool little logs here. This is the kind of content everyone wants to see. an old gray-haired man chopping up some wood. So we'll go ahead and pick up all that wood there just to go ahead and have it. You also need to get... Oopsie, I just got hit by the thing. You also need to pick up some rocks. We don't have the ability to mine rocks at the moment, so we'll need to go looking for some. I have a few, but I don't have a ton. So I was kind of thinking about grabbing a couple if I can find them. Oh, see, there's a little deer. So we can kind of walk around. Oh, here we go. There's a few rocks over here. So basically you just kind of hit E and you pick them up. That is not a particularly realistic circumstance, obviously, but we'll get a few of those right there so that we have some things. Nice thing about the game, too, is that always the map up there in the top right will always kind of show you where that circle is, so you can tell where those things are. But while we're kind of wandering around here, and while I'm kind of working on getting things set up, let's talk a little bit about Viking myths. That is our topic for today. So Vikings themselves, the word Viking essentially is like kind of an action verb in a sense, to go Viking. This is something that people of sort of Norwegian ancestry who lived in that area at the time would do quite often. Usually what would happen is that at the end of their... at the end of the season, they would essentially take, they would not have any more, what do you call them? You would not have any more, like, farming to do. So you would, quote-unquote, go a Viking, which means that you would go out into the world and you would try to find, things to plunder and things to take and all that kind of stuff. So that is essentially what it means, the word Viking actually means to a degree. And so that's kind of where that word comes from. So we're really talking about, when we talk about Vikings, we're talking about Norwegian, Swedish people from that time period that are, that are going on raids and doing all these kind of things throughout Europe. So they get really far, actually. They get all the way down to like Sicily and places like that. So they're going pretty far. But in the process of doing all this, then they are going to need to beat up this dwarf guy coming over here. Hey, buddy! They always look like they're like going to ask me a question. I'm like, hey, man, what's up? You need to be careful not to hit my wall there. All right, but in the meantime, though, they are going to be traveling all over the place. They are going to be going to, Sicily, all these other areas, and in the process, then they're absorbing different concepts and ideas. But they are going to have their own belief system. Okay, this is Viking myths, or Scandinavian myths, or Old Germanic myths. They have a couple of different names that are related to them. And this world here that we're playing in this game is sort of related to it as well. So this is a pagan religion, which means that it is is pre-Christian or non-Christian religion that is out there in the world. Let's do a 26. Let's try 26. I don't know if I can do this. Let's spin it around. There we go. You got to cover this thing to make sure that it'll work for you to do certain other things. So the Viking traditions then are going to be pagan. They are pre-Christian. Norway, Sweden, those kind of places. Most of the information that we have about Viking myths are going to be based on a couple of texts that are from Iceland. So these texts are called the Prose Edda and the Poetic Eddas. And the Prose and Poetic Eddas then are going to be based upon those. They are created, though, in the 13th century. So this is going to be after this period. Like, this is not a period when they have done it like immediately, like in the 7th century or whatever. They're going to be actually doing these kind of things in a different time period. So there's some indications that some of these things may not be perfect there. So we're trying to level this ground out. I have found the ground leveling to be sort of annoying, but we're going to try our best to see if we can lay out a little pathway so we can create our little house. Again, that's one of those things when we talk about sourcing. Oh, come on. When we talk about sourcing, we're often talking about that kind of stuff, right? Like, we're talking about where do these things come from? And so it's those two things. They're written after the fact, so they're not fantastic. There's lots of different variations and stuff in them as well, but those are just an example of sort of where we get our facts and details from. That rock's going to be a problem. Where we're getting our facts and details from. The Poetic Edda is just kind of a combination of a couple of different poems and things, but the Prose Edda, we kind kind of know the guy who actually made it. Like, we know his name. He has an awesome name, too. His name is Snorri Sturluson, and he is an Icelandic man who is going to be writing a whole bunch of these stories over time. So in the process of doing so, then, he becomes one of our best sources for Viking myth and mythology. But again, this is not like perfect. One thing I think we often forget about when we think about mythology is that mythology changes over time. Like when we think about Egypt, we often think about, certain, groups like Osiris or something, right? But that's only true at certain times of history. Like certain times of history, those things are not going to exist there. And that they're going to change, right? Like they're constantly changing over time. So the same thing is also true here. Again, the kind of information we're getting here is going to be much later in the day, much later in the time period. So that is why we don't always know all the details about it. We're also going to get a couple of other places for these sources. There are things called sagas, which are these kind of epic adventure stories that are going on. These sagas are various. They are told by skalds, who are kind of bards of the day, and they are going to have a lot of different sort of more heroic information and heroic things as well. So that is part of where we get this information. Lastly, we're going to have objects. Okay, so a lot of like Viking tombs and things are things that we are looking about as well. So those are all various places that we're learning information, but again, it is not perfect information by any means. Let's do one more there. One more there. Goes another deer. So that is not perfect information that we are learning. So that is one of the reasons why we don't always 100% know what is happening in Viking myths. Like sometimes they can be a little confusing for us. Let's try to drop a floor. I'm trying to make a 3-part thing here. I think I can kind of raise this up too, but I'm going to try to do it on the ground for the moment. Doop, doop, doop. Come on. Yeah, I got a rock in my house. Yeah, these rocks are really annoying. We'll give it a try anyway. I can always come back and fix this later on, so I'll just show you a little bit of this, and we'll go adventuring for a little bit, go a Viking for a minute or two a little bit later. So let's build up a wall. Yeah, see, this wall ain't gonna go there, is it? Maybe? What? I can just build a wall on a rock? Okay, that's fine. It's kind of fun. Or maybe I can't. So, this game is called Valheim, and that is... Oh, missing requirement, which is what? Oh, I'm not close enough to my workbench. That's my problem. So as long as I stay within this little zone, even if it's outside the zone, I can still do it. I'll move my workbench in later. The reference here to Vikings, then, we need to talk about Viking cosmology, which is sort of where these Vikings come from. That's not a good placement for that. How do I do that? Where these Viking kind of ideas come from. So the cosmology of the Viking world is based on something known as Yggdrasil. Okay, so Yggdrasil is a giant ash tree. Oh, I'm out of wood. Yggdrasil is a giant ash tree that exists and sort of connects all the different worlds. So you want to see it? There it is in game. It's kind of a cool little view, isn't it? So this is sort of their version of Viking sort of ideas. This is this giant tree that exists in the northern part there. Valheim is not a real place in Viking mythology. It is a fake place. It's sort of a combination of like Valhalla and Heim, which means a place. So this is, in the theory of the game, this is the 10th world, where basically Odin has sent his enemies, and you're a good Viking, and you're going to try to help out these enemies, or help him out to try to defeat these enemies. So that is sort of an example of what's happening. Oh, I built it on top of the rock. That's not good. That's not good. Okay. You know what? I'm not sure that building is my best forte. Let's go ahead and try to break that down a little bit. That's no good. Yeah, there you go. Okay, well, let's go ahead and grab all this stuff back up. Let's try this again. So this is supposed to be the 10th world, right? So obviously that means that there are, in actual Viking cosmology, 9 different worlds. Those 9 different worlds vary over time. Like, kind of, there's a lot of debate over, like, what worlds are what and where they are and all this kind of stuff. So essentially these 9 different worlds based around this world tree Yggdrasil is going to be Asgard, which we probably heard of from our Marvel movies. Vanaheim, Alfheim, Midgard, Muspelheim, Svaldheim, Niflheim, and maybe this one called Nidavel. Again, it kind of varies over time and sort of where things are. So some of these may be not, it depends on where you're looking at and what your sources are. But there's only a couple of these that are really sort of interesting to us. Asgard obviously is the home of the gods, and that is where they are located. But in addition to that, we are also going to see Alfheim, home of the light elves, right? Svaldheim, home of the dark elves. Niflheim is going to be home to, it's like a cold place, so like lots of different kind of cold people there. That doesn't make a lot of sense, but you get it. And then also we are going to have Midgard, which is where we as human beings live. Human beings live in Midgard. So all of these different locations then. Dang it, this workbench thing is a problem. There we go. Is that down in the right place? Yeah, we're going to have to just kind of break that down probably. All of these things then are going to be locations and places that can exist. They are the different cosmologies. And many of these cosmologies also are related back to questions of where Vikings go after death. And they go to a variety of different places. So, for example, we probably heard before about Valhalla, which is the place where all the good dead are going to go. They are going to be the ones who die in battle, essentially. The Vikings believe that when you die in battle, you will go to sit at Odin's right hand, and you will eventually... Oh, and I got run over by a stupid log after I told you not to do that. You are essentially going to be at Odin's right hand, and you will be called at the end days in Ragnarok, the sort of end of the world, to assist... Odin in some form. There are also other versions of this, though. So, for example, if you die at sea, you may end up in a place that is run by Ran, which is a location for those who drown in the ocean. It's not a great place. You could also potentially go to Hell, Hel, which is a kind of like a boring, cold afterlife. Like, it's not horrible. You're not being tortured or whatever, but at the same time, you're not really enjoying yourself a whole lot. So that is an example. Let's get this guy. Oh no, there's another one behind me. They're flanking me. Yeah, he just saw his friend die. He's upset now. He's got his little thing on his head. Alright, there you go. Alright, it's getting cold, by the way. When the dark comes out, that is not a good thing. Let's see if we can make a real quick... I've got enough stone for it, I think. Let's try to make a warm spot for us. There it is. Let's put it... I don't know. Let's put it here. Alright. So we got a little nice place that we can sit and rest for a bit. So resting is a big part of this game. It helps you out a little bit. It heals you and stuff. You can see there I got some healing going on. It's best if you can do this inside of a place, obviously, but that's the best I can do at the moment. I don't have any food either. I need to go find some food. But while we're sitting there and resting and hanging out a little bit, let's continue on with that. So yeah, there's a couple different places that you can go. It is also very cyclical in the cosmology of the Vikings, which means that you can come back, basically, in the world. So you can be reincarnated to some degree, though that's not common, but it's possible to do so. A couple of different gods, of course, that we have. So obviously the big gods you probably heard of before. Thor, who's in all the Marvel movies. He has a wife named Sif. Also Odin and his wife Frigg are going to be examples of that. There's also a whole bunch of kind of other beings that exist out there. So the Jotun, for example, are often translated as giants. But in reality, they're kind of just like monsters of sorts. They have a variety of different things that they do. So they can be big and kind of monstrous, but they can also be described as very beautiful as well. So they can vary a bit about what they are. There's also, of course, elves and dwarves that we don't really know much about them. There's not a whole lot of descriptions of them as well. And there's also some pretty funny gods also. So I couldn't find really fantastic ones, but here's a couple of examples of some interesting ones. So we have, for example, Min, M-I-N. So this guy was actually killed in a battle, and he had his head chopped off, but he doesn't exactly die. So Odin sort of just carries his head around with him all the time, and he gets advice from Min. So, and Min is just kind of like right there on his shoulder, like a little angel to talk to him. Also, we have Sigyn. Sigyn is Loki's wife, though her name translates wonderfully. Her name translates as Victorious Girlfriend, which is perhaps the greatest god name I've ever heard. Looking around for those little grayling guys. I don't see anybody, so I think we're safe at the moment. But the story is that Loki is, of course, you know him also probably. He is sort of this trickster god, sort of Jotun kind of figure. But he supposedly, according to the stories, he and his wife have a child. Actually, have two children. One is named Vali and one is named Nari. And Vali is transformed into a wolf because everybody hates Loki. So they transform his kid into a wolf, and then as a wolf, he kills his brother Nari. And then some of the gods who dislike Loki take the entrails of his son and bind him to a rock with those entrails, which is horrifying. And then these same gods put a serpent over his face. And so the serpent drips acid and venom into his face over time, which is pretty horrific as well. So in the long run, his wife, Sigyn, being a victorious girlfriend, has a bowl that she takes out and she puts it underneath his head, or above his head, to catch all of the venom, and so that helps to protect him. However, when she walks away to dump the venom, it drips on his face and causes him great distress, and he causes earthquakes and stuff like that. So supposedly in Ragnarok, then, at the end of the days, when the gods are destroyed, he will rise up from his position, as will a few others. They will destroy the world, and the world will be born anew. So that there is a little bit about our Viking myths, ladies and gentlemen. So hopefully that is interesting to you. I realize that building a random shack is probably not the most interesting. We're waiting for morning, but how about we go ahead and just kind of hop up for a minute and we can kind of wander around a little bit. We do have a torch, which helps us out a bit. So let's go for a little bit of a wander, and then, oh, I'm cold. And then we will kind of wrap it up for today. So hopefully you learned a little bit about Viking gods and cosmology. Probably next time around we'll take a little bit more of a look at some of the Viking myths and, sorry, not myths, like kind of Viking life, like what Viking life was like, a little bit about their boats and all kinds of fun stuff like that. I thought I saw some berries or something over here, but I guess not. But yeah, that's a beach. That's not helpful. So we're just going straight south right now. See what we got. There's a whole bunch of, this is just like a forest basically through here. Not a whole lot of interesting stuff going on. Hopefully we'll get some light in the morning. I'm kind of looking around for like a river of some sort. The rivers in this game are really pretty. And they can provide all kinds of cool stuff like flint and things like that. Yeah, not a whole lot going this way. In this game, it's kind of cool. You'll see like remnants of old buildings and stuff. So, like for example, here's like a couple of lean-tos here that have been abandoned over time. But if we keep going south, hoping I'll see a river or a lake or something at some point. Not looking like it at the moment, though. Maybe a different direction instead. I really like the look of this game. It's really neat. It feels very much like you're in a forest. So let's go this way and see if we can find anything. We're going to go to the, what is that, to the east instead. It's kind of nice, the little like thing up there at the top kind of gives you, there's a boar. Come on, let's go ahead and kill this boar. Because he's going to try and get me. Oh, no, he ran away. No, there he is. Let's get him. Oh, there's a couple of them. So when you get these guys, they give you all kinds of good stuff. I guess the exclamation point means he's coming to fight me. Ooh. He keeps running away. Come back. I want your leather. Oh, I guess it means he's frightened. Oh, that's sad. Okay, got some leather scraps, so I can do a lot of fun stuff with that later on. Let's continue going to the east here. Man, that's a big old tree. Look at the size of that thing. Yeah, that's an oak. Keep up and we're going to find a little bit of water somewhere around here, but I'm not seeing it anywhere. keep seeing this mist, and I'm like, wait, is that water? That's not water. It's a stone I'm stepping on. Oh, these are cool. That's one of the things I love about the game too. It has these. It's all like, you know, every world that you create is totally different. There's not like a set established world, but it has these neat little things in it, like this Viking standing stones, I guess, of sorts. All right, we're still looking around a little bit, trying to find some water somewhere. Ew. Alright, let's take this guy out. Apparently he's got Wi-Fi. Alright, got some more resin. Alright, well, I'm not finding a whole lot of water here. Hate to kind of end on a anticlimactic note, but we're coming up on about half an hour here. See what else we can find. And I think that may be it. I don't think we're going to find anything too useful out here right now, unfortunately. The little dude's hauling it. Ooh, that's me creeping. I'm creeping on you. Alright, well, you know what? That is going to be a bit of a poor end there, but you know what? Sometimes things don't quite work out like you like. I hope that y'all enjoyed this a little bit. I hope you learned a little bit about Viking cosmology, Viking myths, Viking history, and we will be back to it another time. We'll talk a bit about Viking history. Hopefully I'll have my little house built by then, and maybe I can find you a nice river to take a look at. Look, there's my little forest, or my little hut that I'm trying to build. So when we get back next time around, we'll take a look at that, and we will talk a bit more about all the kind of fun stuff here we got with Valheim. I hope y'all enjoyed this. We'll see you next time. Again, hit subscribe and like. I'll keep those comments open, and please be nice in those, and look forward to seeing y'all next time. Thanks so much.